Caleb on your left, Harlen on your right. Harlen with the short hair.
Yep.
Short hair strat right now. His Pittsburgh Steelers getting ready for football season here. I got some bad news for the Steelers. We're coming for you. Josh Gordon's off the drugs, which is good. We got Jarvis Landry.
Don't say off the drugs.
Okay, he's off of the. He's not doing bad things anymore. How about that?
They're not bad things.
Okay, well he's not doing what the NFL doesn't want him to do anymore.
There we go.
How about that? Is that better?
Yes, that is accurate.
Josh Gordon on the up and up. Can I say that?
I guess. I don't know.
We got Jarvis Landry, and we got Baker the Love Maker. That's my quarterback. It's a big season in Cleveland for football. We might win a game this year. Big season. That's my quarterback. You see the one next to Caleb Scheer's name? Number one on the SCG Tour leaderboard here in season 2. Very impressive stuff. Sleight of hand here for Caleb. Season 1 point champion as well. That's line number 2 in Shivan Reef. You better keep. Isn't Myles Garrett like a New Jersey kid? Am I wrong about that?
He went to college in Texas. I don't know if he grew up in Jersey.
Wrong. He's a dealer. You better watch out for him. Here's an opt. Harlen going to take a bolt. He'll opt again. Loading up on bolts to be able to kill the cost reducers. Terminus in hand now. Now Cryptic Command. This is a Flooded Strand. We're going to head back over to Caleb. One of the nice things, if you are Harlen coming into this matchup, or truth be told, just about anybody, you sit across from Caleb, you know what you're up against.
Right, which is why he can go ahead and take those bolts so aggressively there, because he just wants to have as much interaction as possible for the cost-reducing creatures. Be able to respond in case Caleb tries to set up a spot where he plays a reducer, starts to go, and then can respond with some stuff. Every bolt adds up in both those positions.
It'll be a Steam Vents here for Harlen. And we're going to head back over to Harlen Fier, a former Open champion many moons ago. Actually, I think he's a two-timer. Beat Shaheen Sarani in the finals of 1. Memory serves, that was back in Richmond with Jeskai Ascendancy. And then we watched him win one in Louisville with old Jeski. This is a Harlen Fier tried and true strategy, folks. When you watch Modern here on the SCG Tour, the names you'll be familiar with, but you'll also be familiar with the decks that they play. So Caleb, Paul Muller, those are Storm players. Harlen, you got to give him a good reason not to play Jeskai. And he hasn't found one just yet, that's for sure. Caleb's going to take a little bit of damage here. I wonder what the spell is going to be. It's going to be a Pyretic Ritual. Perhaps we've got somewhere to go here.
Well, with Cryptic Command in hand here from Harlen, I'm sure he'll let Scherer do a little bit of work here.
And there's your little bit of work.
Right. That's the line where now if you allow that second ritual to resolve and Scherer just plays a copy of Empty the Warrens, it's potentially problematic. And you have a lot of cards to show for. You've got to burn off 2 rituals and cycle your Cryptic Command. So from a card economy standpoint, you're doing well, and you don't risk an Empty the Warren suddenly showing up and making your Cryptic Command a lot worse.
Harlen going to search up a Hollow Fountain. Now here's a Snapcaster Mage. The follow-up is going to be an opt. This will be on the end step. This is part of the reason people like opt. You and I have seen so many times players play Snapcaster Mage into Serum Visions as just their third turn.
Yep.
Now they get to rock and roll on their end step with opt. Get to untap, take a draw step, and still leave those shields up. Field of Ruin the draw. That one's a little bit surprising to see in the 3-color deck. So many copies he's got of that. 2 main deck copies of Field of Ruin.
The mana can support it. I mean, you have a mountain plus 2 Field of Ruins. It starts to get a little shaky. But in some ways, Field of Ruin acts as a mana fixer too. So
I like what Harlen's doing here, though, the kind of how his deck is built and what he's able to do. These Snapcaster Mages coming on the end step, sometimes burn spells, but again, not thrilled about tapping mana on your own turn when you're playing a deck like Jeskai controls, so he's just going to recast some ops, make his hand a little bit better, load up on counter spells if he can. You can see at least 2 copies of Logic Knot in hand right now. Now here's a Desperate Ritual. 3 red floating. Here's another Desperate Ritual. Now just 1 red floating, but 2 mana available here for Caleb. And it's actually going to go up to 4. So Harlen's going to have to pick an interesting spot here on what to try to stop.
Well, now that he has a Terminus in hand that he can hard cast, I think Harlen can really let Caleb go. And you can cut him off right when he casts a Pass in Flames, and then that's his whole turn. And if he plays a bunch of stuff and then plays Empty the Warrens, well, you go ahead, you untap, you play Terminus, and Scheer's hopefully so light on resources that he can't follow up and do anything significant.
You see for Caleb, his Storm token is out there on the battlefield that he had made for him after he won that Las Vegas Invitational a couple of years ago. Big win for him as that qualified him for the Players' Championship. He's got 4 red mana floating, does the Storm expert. And now he's trying to figure out where to go to next against 7 open mana. He'll go with Manamorphose, 2 floating, spell 3. That's going to resolve. Caleb will get the blue mana counter out now. He's got 2 red, 2 blue floating. New card coming. Didn't get a great look at it, though we do know he's got a copy of Grape Shot and Noxus Revival in hand. Now he's going to go to Baral. 1 red, 1 blue floating. That's spell 4. See if this is where Harlen wants to maybe try to pick a fight.
I think he'll probably try to kill the Reducer in response to the first spell that Scherer plays.
It looks like Baral's on the battlefield. So your expectation is to see a removal spell here, as this is Noxus Revival. Spell 5, pay 2 life. We'll see what Caleb wants to target. Again, remember, the setup here is based almost solely around Grape Shot now at this point. Well, it looks like Manamorphose is going to go on top of the deck. Here is a Manamorphose. Harlen's going to now make his move.
Yeah, Fier wanted to wait to respond with Scherer playing a Reducer. What you don't want to do is do it in response to the Noxus Revival, let's say, and then Scherer starts ritualing on top of that. You want to initiate the fight when Scheer's committed 1 Reducer.
Lightning Bolt is going to resolve. That's going to add to the spell count here. So 2 blue, 1 red, going to draw that copy of Manamorphose. Caleb, I see 1 G-Shot. I think he's got 2 Grape Shots, so he's going to play another copy of Manamorphose. He might actually have him dead here. This Manamorphose is going to resolve. Steam Vents.
Yeah, if he's naturally just taking off 2 Grape Shots, then this Cryptic Command isn't worth a whole lot.
That's right. This is going to be a Grape Shot for 9, and then we'll have a Grape Shot for 10. And now it makes you wonder, as you see Harlen Fier with 2 Logic Knots and a Cryptic Command in hand, I was probably supposed to cast one of these at some point, right?
Well, you would want to do it. I mean, so Scherer is doing all this with a mana left over, which suggests to me that cutting off any of the rituals wouldn't have been good enough.
Maybe not.
And if you counter a ritual and he plays over the top and plays Fast and Flames, you look like an idiot. I liked Fier's position here of save this Cryptic for Past and Flames or something obvious that he needs to keep going, and otherwise sit and wait. But it looks like Scherer has just worked around the Cryptic commands. Looks like Harlen's going to say, I'm going to counter one of these. I'm going to hope to find maybe a Lightning Helix, and none of it is going to work. So Caleb Scherer demonstrating his mastery of Storm yet again underneath pressure and 7 untapped lands. He finds a way to win anyway. Wins game number 1 here over Harlen Fier. Storm up a game over Jeskai Control. We're going to go to the sideboards. We'll start with Harlen as he'll be on the play here in game number 2. I see 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Negate, 2 Supreme Verdict, 2 Vendilion Click, 7 1-ofs here in a Braid Celestial Purge, Dispel Flash Freeze, Settle the Wreckage, Surgical Extraction, and a Wear Commetaire. I like the Surgical, the Flash Freeze, the Dispel, the 2 Negates. So this is just good counter spells, good interaction for the graveyard. And then the 2 copies of Vendilion Click as Disruption plus additional pressure. Let's take a look at the other side of things here for Caleb, who's got 4 pieces of the puzzle, 3 Empty the Warrens, 3 Lightning Bolt, 2 Abrade. And Echoing Truth, appear through depths and a wipe away. We oftentimes see Caleb bring in the pieces of the puzzle in a matchup like this. Yeah, I mean, pieces of the puzzle for anything that's going to drag out a little bit or where he's sort of diluting the deck a little bit with additional sideboard cards. I expect those 4 copies to come in here. And some blend of the Abrade Echoing Truth type of stuff, wipe away, to cover himself against some problematic permanents that Fier might be pointing in. Well, those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. And while they get ready for that, we are going to try to sell you some Magic cards on the cheap, because that's what we do here on the weekly sale. 10% off non-English singles up until Monday at 10:59 a.m. Go to StarCityGames.com/weekly sales, the place to go. If you'd like to get yourself a non-English Reflecting Pool, Erebos God of the Dead, Mirari's Wake, Eternal Witness, and a whole bunch more, make sure you do bookmark go.starcitygames.com/weekly sale, because we got a new one coming for you. You know who likes to browse a weekly sale? The guy to my left, your right. I'm there to pick through the bones. You can't get anything by him. Right, yeah. If Star City's got something for a little too low, I am there waiting. Just waiting.
I do think I'm going to bring the Patrick Sullivan theme weekly sale up the chain. This is my next idea.
Yeah. Just legends, bands without a bands without a legends lands. Except they're sold out. I have those ones.
Oh, do you have them all?
No, I don't. That's why I have them bookmarked on the page. So I'm missing Adventurers Guild House and Cathedral of Scherer, but their Star City is always sold out.
Well,
or waiting.
Waiting for the right
Are they on
spot.
the reserve list?
I don't know. I would ask you that. I don't know. Adventurers Guild and Company? I have no clue.
Yeah.
Caleb Scherer, the player who won game number 1, your former Invitational champion, of course, in Las Vegas a handful of years ago, as I did mention, the 30-year-old who resides in St. Louis, Missouri with 11 open top 8. Still looking for that first open win, though. Actually won an Invitational before he got that open win. Eventually he'll get it with Storm, I'm sure. He lives basically out of his backpack and generally wears flip-flops as he is this weekend. And if you watch his stream, you know about his cats, Wilt and Rose. That is Caleb Scherer, member of Team Bearded Dragon, who currently is up a game here over Harlen Fier, someone who he has run into quite a bit here on the SCG Tour, as these two players oftentimes see a lot of success. And for Harlen, he's getting ready to play here in game number 2. Though I got some people throwing some shade at me on Twitter here, Patrick. Can't really let this go because I'm petty. $100 says the Browns win less than half their games.
The line was the line was 5.5. So if you're offering that bet, you're trash.
I'm gonna decline.
You could go to Las Vegas and get the Browns for 6 wins or whatever.
That's correct.
Less than half.
That's correct. Hey, tough guy. The Browns are 1-31 in their last 32 games. I think there's a pretty good chance they're going to lose more than half of their games.
Right.
Okay. So get out of here with that. I've already messaged him back. I'll take the bet.
Tough guy.
Yeah.
You want to make this like plainly idiotic bet that you could easily just make down the street for much better odds?
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here with that. You will not throw shade at Cleveland, especially when we already know we're horrible. And if you've been watching Hard Knocks, which I have
not.
I've briefly tuned into, it's horrible. But Hugh Jackson will not make it through the season. He is he's not good at his job. I'll be polite.
My TV has definitely changed a lot in the last few years.
Yeah.
My life circumstances. I love Antiques Roadshow.
Okay.
Yeah, it is just the amount of just weird Americana garbage that is out there is really surprising. I like that.
What else? I imagine you're turning something on like PBS or something.
I end up now watching because of my wife and my kids. A lot of cooking shows now. Don't know how
like
to
Food
cook.
Network?
Sort of, yeah. Interior, like remodeling.
Oh wow, you're fully domesticated.
We do. There's several shows out there that sort of go and they tour sort of these like supposed awesome houses, or these one-off pieces of construction, some weird place in the world that was obviously really expensive.
Yeah.
Those shows are fascinating to me because the owners of these houses are universally terrible people.
Have you been
because the whole foundation, the whole undergirdling of all of these shows is wealthy people who basically want to build a temple to themselves, but have the plausible deniability that they're just building a home.
Sure,
so they're all scum.
Okay,
they've all obviously made their money doing terrible things too, right? Investment banking.
Yeah.
There's not a single. Oh, this is a musician. They
Sure.
gave a gift to the world, and in return they want to build something for themselves. Maybe it's a little gauche, but it's not the end of the world. We can forgive it because they've provided so much. These are all rent-seeking ghouls and vultures. And the hosts of these shows treat them with such reverence when they're obviously just the most contemptible people that the planet could produce. I like those shows a lot. I watch a lot of that.
Perhaps I'll get to watch an episode with you during my trip.
Definitely,
to Denver.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and turn that on. Here's an opt from Harlen.
It's not exactly broadcast appropriate language, but you can listen to me go, "Hey, look at this!"
Yeah, I can.
So and so.
I can't wait. Can't broadcast it. Might be able to tweet it though. As here is a pyretic ritual. Are we just gonna go right to the empty? Okay, it's 4 goblins. It's not a ton, but Harlen is on a mulligan to 5, and he doesn't have the most functional of hands. So Caleb's not going to get too greedy here. Says, you know what, 4 goblins, that'll be enough pressure that you probably have to make some sort of move.
On top of that, if he knows that Fier is playing the Terminus build, it makes a lot of sense to do this now when Fier is without white mana.
Also true.
He's drawing a lot thinner to be able to answer this.
Well, white mana has arrived now in the form of Flooded Strand. I like this play here, however. You know, I'm sure Caleb would have liked to maybe make 6, but he didn't want to get too greedy, and I respect it. As here's a Plains from Harlen Fier.
So the other thing about doing a little short storm right now is that if Fier is stalled on lands here, it's probably going to take him a little while to draw out and be able to answer this entire board, and that gives you time to rebuild a hand to go off in the second wave. So you apply some pressure. Maybe it's good enough if Fier never draws out of it. And if he does draw out, then the game's dragged on for a little bit, and you have an opportunity to rebuild, especially if you get a chance to resolve something like Pieces of the Puzzle.
Which is resolving right now. Top 5 cards, another copy of Pieces of the Puzzle of Baral, a sleight of hand, and it looks like 2 copies of Spire Bluff Canal. You saw Snapcaster Mage jump in front. We'll be recasting an opt here in a moment, I'm sure. Caleb just reloading on the goodies. Going to play his defense tap, pass the turn back. Harlan's going to opt, which means he'll scry 1. That top card he's going to think about for a moment. He looks at hand of Dispel, Teferi, and some other goodies there. Nick Stevens, who came at me with, I believe, with the Browns bet, he said he's a Miami fan, which, well, it's tough to be a Dolphins fan nowadays, so I sympathize. That is a bad football team. Here is a Hollow Fountain. Harlan going to take the 2, pass the turn back. In with 3 golems comes Caleb. Our follow-up is a sleight of hand. Harlan will give that the thumbs up. Take a look at 2 cards, get to pick 1. Selection made here for Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb here, obviously aware of Cryptic Command. He's going to try to do a little bit of development here.
Speak of the devil, it shall appear.
Without actually committing anything of substance.
There is your Cryptic Command. Going to bounce a goblin, draw a card. Harlan. Well, Harlan doesn't really have a lot of options here. He's on a mulligan to 5. His life total is being attacked while Caleb is building up a hand to be able to storm off again. But the Hero of Dominaria might be able to save him. Here is Teferi. We'll see if this will resolve, and it will. Harlan will plus. He will draw a card. It's a Glacial Fortress. He'll get to untap 2 lands. Very powerful Planeswalker is Teferi. We've seen this make its way into Modern. Now, Harlan actually has 2 mana available to cast and negate. He also has access to Dispel and Spell Snare. So Harlan on a mulligan to 5. The card that might be able to get him back into this one is actually one of Magic's newest Planeswalkers.
But Scherer here with a full hand, and if he just has a Grape Shot in the hand, even Fier's counterspells may not be good enough here.
Well, Harlan's going to have to pick his spots very well then, as Caleb is going to start by playing a Pyretic Ritual. Now, I'm curious, Patrick, if you would counter this.
I think the Snare allowing you to leave up Dispel probably makes it really attractive to do something here.
Okay. Caleb says, I will counter that. Now, keep in mind, spell count of 2 right now, and Caleb does have a Grape Shot in hand. Next up for Caleb is a Desperate Ritual.
By the way, going back to the previous game.
Oh, yes.
Bingo spot.
Storm count of 8. So you're two away from winning.
I'm drawing to player has pregame effects or Collective Brutality cast using 2 modes.
All right, we'll get those updated before we start the next round. Here's a Manamorphose. That's going to resolve. Caleb is going to get a red and a blue. Looks like it's spell number 5. Caleb with the option now to Grape Shot away. And Caleb not sure if he wants to play.
Well, he's already played a land this turn. So if he casts this, then he's out. So he can Grape Shot or he can Serum Vision, but not both.
I think that's what they're wondering here. Did he play a land or not yet?
I believe he started just with land, cast a spell. Obviously, he would love to play a land here and be able to Serum Vision and hopefully find a ritual or a ritual or Manamorphose to add to the storm count. Maybe just win with the Grape Shot, but I don't think that's an option.
Well, here's spell 6. This is a Grape Shot. And I think we're going to say 5 to Teferi, 1 to you. Deal you 3 total. Get your problematic Planeswalker off the battlefield. But to me, in a weird way, this feels like a win to Harlan because Harlan's not dead.
He's not dead, so that's obviously positive, but he is kind of out of stuff to do right now. His hand is now a Cryptic plus a Negate. I guess it's not the worst position. He can go and take the hit. He can get rid of a token via Cryptic Command. And I like Fier doing it on his turn here to not add to the storm count, because if Scherer first order business went into combat and attacked, he would want a Cryptic then, and then you're adding to the storm count.
Here's Piece of the Puzzle. You got to counter that one. And now it makes you wonder, okay, Caleb has 1 Goblin token. He's going to play a land for the turn. He'll play a Serum Visions. He picked up a Lightning Bolt. He'll scry 2. And it looks like both those cards are going to go to the bottom, but it looks like Caleb might have some difficulty getting across the finish line here as Harlen's at 7 will draw a card. Didn't get a great look at it, but he'll play a Flooded Strand and simply pass the turn back. Caleb's going to untap those 4 lands, pick up a card here. Here's an attack for 1. Harlen's going to fall down to 6. Manamorphose, Lightning Bolt, and a land in hand here for Caleb.
But the game has dragged on for so long that now Scherer is in a position where he's just drawing 2 Past in Flames. He's ready to go out of the graveyard should he draw it.
Lightning Helix going to take care of that last Goblin token. So now, as you mentioned, drawing to Past in Flames, here's a copy Manamorphose. What Caleb doesn't know is that Harlen just has lands in hand. Caleb will play a land, and he'll simply pass the turn back. So Harlen makes it out of that turn alive. Harlen will draw. It looks like Harlen may have 3 lands in hand, though he's trying to represent some amount of strength here. Caleb will play a Steam Vents tap, pass the turn. Harlen actually picked up a Lightning Bolt last turn. He'll play a Sacred Foundry tap, pass the turn back. Obviously, Teferi would have been immensely helpful had it stayed on the battlefield, but Caleb was smart enough to take care of it. Harlen will play a land, pass the turn back. Caleb will draw, picked up a Sleight of Hand. He'll cantrip here. Take a look at the top 2 cards. Maybe not, as here is a Snapcaster Mage. Maybe the best creature for competitive Magic of all time, at least right now, according to Patrick Sullivan, it is. Here's a Cryptic Command. You can see why this card's so powerful. Counter draw. And now Harlen actually has a clock to go along with it.
Yep. And Fier has to be pretty aggressive here in using the Snapcaster Mage to counter cantrips, because he can't stop Caleb if he draws Past in Flames. So there is a card that he is drawing to where the Cryptic Command is ineffectual, and that increases the incentive for Fier to just use it on cantrips instead. On top of get some pressure on the battlefield, force Scherer to act, all those kind of benefits.
This will be a Baral, Chief of Compliance. And it looks like that one's going to resolve. You do see Harlen with the Lightning Bolt at the ready, but now things get a little bit interesting because Harlen has Bolt, Snapcaster, and Opt. So he's got a hand of cards that actually do matter. Not entirely sure what Opt will turn into. And, of course, you do want to get Baral off of the battlefield. Here's a Pyretic Ritual. Could be a bluffing Pyretic Ritual. You never know. Ritual will resolve. Harlen says, I'm not going to make a move. That's Empty the Warrens. This will be for 6. So 6 more Goblins on the way. With a Lightning Bolt in hand here for Caleb. This will be an Opt from Harlen. Does make you wonder if Harlen's left in any copies of Terminus. We may have that question answered here in just a moment. As he's giving this card a long look. He's going to put it on the bottom. Whatever he was looking at, he was not happy with. He'll draw a new card. Looks like he picked up a copy of Search for His Kanta, which is not bad here, though it might be a little bit slow. Is it time for Harlen Fier to maybe play a Snapcaster Mage? The answer is no. So he would like to shuffle his deck and take care of a land here, does Harlen, by activating Field of Ruin. Both these players will search up a basic. Caleb will if he's able to, of course. They'll present shuffle each other's deck. And I'm curious if Harlen will have any other end step effects. The answer is no. Is there a Terminus in his future? There's not. Looks like a copy of Vendilion Click. Now here's your Search for His Kanta. And I'm curious to see how Harlen what he will do this turn. And I was curious if he was going to Cryptic, and it looks like he will. The plan is with Cryptic Command, of course, to tap and draw. The flexibility of that card. Actually, it might be tap and bounce Snapcaster Mage, a play that we have seen Harlen make before.
Yeah, especially at this point when Harlen is drawing to a sweeper to stabilize the board, he would much rather have the Snapcaster Mage back in his hand.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Smart play there from Harlen. Empty the Warrens again from Caleb. And Caleb still with Lightning Bolt in hand, but if you're Harlen right now, you got a decent amount of looks at it.
Yeah.
With Search for Wisconsin's trigger, if you don't like it, you put the card in the graveyard. You get a new look, and you, of course, can activate his Kanta. I think he's got enough mana to activate his Kanta and hardcast a Terminus. So he's got enough ways to clean up the battlefield. 12 Goblin tokens out there for Caleb, but for Harlen right now, it all boils down to, do you have Terminus or some way to get these things off the battlefield? If you do, life's going to be pretty good. Opt is not an answer. So as Kanta's going to transform, let's take a look at this card. Not an answer. Harlen going to activate. Make sure he's got double white. He does. 2, 3. Settle the Records will do just fine. Going to show you that one.
Well, it's a fine draw to have.
Yep. It ain't Terminus, but it'll work. And Harlen will pass the turn back. Caleb will draw. This will be a fun little game of how many goblins am I supposed to attack with. Obviously, the answer is not all of them.
6 makes sense because it's not your whole squad. And if Harlen were to block 1 and take 5, now your Bolt is lethal.
Very true. There's the 6. There's the settle. For those of you that are just joining us now, and for those of you that have been with us the entire time, first and foremost, thank you. But second of all, surprisingly, Settle the Wreckage has been popular this weekend.
Yeah, we've seen it on camera several times at this point.
This card is starting to work its way into the modern format. Obviously a standard staple, going to hang around past rotation too. But here is Settle the Wreckage. Caleb is opting not to search at all. There's 6 goblins. Now here's pieces to the puzzle.
We're back in the spot here where it's possible for Fier to get killed through a counterspell.
Mm-hmm. Handful of cards there. Repeal, Peer Through Depths, and other pieces, and Opt. Among the options, looks like Peer Through Depths and pieces is what Caleb will take.
Yeah, pieces into pieces is really problematic here for Fier because this allows Scherer the possibility of just chaining together enough stuff to grape shot him out.
3, 4 is Manamorphose. 5 is Sleight of Hand. There's also an Opt, a Steam Vents, and a Shivan Reef hanging out in there.
Yeah, and at this point, Scherer isn't really bottlenecked on mana. He just wants the most looks at it. So the Opt and the Sleight of Hand here, much better.
Yeah, Peer Through Depths isn't going to hurt either. That'll give him even more looks at it. Harlen looks like he might be making a move now. He's going to fall down to 7. This is the scariest one, I think.
So he's got an opportunity here for Snapcaster Mage on the Spell Snare. Nothing else that he can access here has any interaction against the the Sleight of Hand, the Opt, or the potential Grape Shot that those cards can find. Mm-hmm. This is really Fier's only opportunity to interact, so he's got to take it.
Well, he is going to take it now.
And obviously, Scherer still has plenty of looks at it with his 2 cantrips, but Peer Through the Depths is a lot of looks.
Opt. Take a look. Caleb will take a card.
Yeah, Grape Shot here is lethal. I mean, he's they're checking here, but he's puzzled. He's puzzled twice. Fier has cast some spells here. It's over if he can.
What do we have here? Past in Flames.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a million rituals down there, and yeah, it's over.
And that is going to do it. So Caleb Scherer is going to win this match over Harlen Fier 2-0. Storm going to take care of Jeskai Control. And that game did get a little interesting. Keep in mind, that was a mulligan to 5 there for Harlen Fier. He was working on making a comeback, but it